Greetings and salutations. Welcome to the 50th episode of my trek through the Fallout universe. Yay! So, in this particular episode, what I'm going to do is kind of give a quick review of my thoughts about Fallout 1. And first of all, I'm going to say how I came into this particular universe of games. I started playing Fallout 3, which seems like an eternity ago, and thought it was an absolutely brilliant game. I really enjoyed it. I like the role-playing aspects of it. I like the quests within it. The Point Lookout, the DLCs, kind of one of my favourite DLCs. So that's where it started with. Because it's obviously the third game in the series, I kind of thought, oh. So I must play 1 and 2. However, I kind of found out that they were turn-based isometric games, and for me at the time, that really wasn't what I was into. So that kind of got put on the back burner, sort of piece of information that I knew, but wasn't really that bothered about. Anyway, played Fallout New Vegas. And which I thought was fantastic. Really like Old World Blues. Yeah, it's one of the funniest games I think I've played up until that point. Anyway, so many good things about that particular game, which I shall get to in this sequence of playing through the Fallout universe. What several commentators mentioned was that Fallout 2 and Vegas are kind of similar in their kind of outlook, shall we say. I don't know, obviously not similar in graphically. So, knowing this, I thought, oh, that's interesting. I think it would be worth my while playing Fallout 2. So, I thought, I did a bit of research on Fallout 1 and Fallout 2. I kind of looked at the mechanics of the two games, and they're pretty much they're very similar. So I thought I would sort of start at the beginning of the sequence. So I thought it would be interesting to get my head round playing a turn-based isometric game by starting with Fallout 1. And as it so happened, it was the start of the lockdown, so I ended up with a lot more time than I thought I was going to have. So I thought, yeah, wow, we'll do this. So started playing Fallout 1, which was somewhat challenging to say the least, having never played an isometric turn-based game before. The combat was very challenging, and it was sort of compounded by the fact that I hadn't a clue what I was doing in terms of with this game. What I will say is the character build if you make issues with it, I think if you get more experience at it, you can kind of play with the foibles, but for a beginner it's better to have an optimum. It is the best thing to do, is have an optimized character, because it just makes your life so much easier. So and one of the things I did with this particular game is I looked at the 3 pre-roll characters, looked at 3 pre-roll characters. There's a character called Max Stone. Max Stone has a lot of hit points, and I thought that would be a useful kind of attribute to have, because sort of sponge up the damage if you don't understand what's happening in the combat. I was kind of wrong with that one, but we'll get into that in a minute. But in terms of the way in which the combat works, basically agility and perception are the 2 skills to have that will optimize the number of action points you get, and also the sequence, i.e. when you get to go. So it's kind of, those 2 are really important. And also intelligence is also really important, because it will give you the number of skill points you will get as you go up the levels. So those 3 little attributes are quite important. I also have discovered, since having now played this through multiple times, that luck also plays quite an interesting element to it, and not only do you get better criticals, but it also seems that you might end up with better weapons earlier in the game, such as the alien blaster, but also you might end up with a critical encounter where you might end up with I think I ended up with a funniest Nuka-Cola lorry thing, and you end up with like 10,000 caps, which is like mega at the start. Anyway, and so if I hadn't, those two things hadn't happened, there's a set of sequences, like a path I would follow to basically get the water jet from Necropolis so that I can then take it back to Vault 13. So that then removes the timing element of the game, which probably is not its best aspect, because it kind of limits how much time you can explore the initial areas. Anyway, so onto the kind of aspects of the game, which I mean, I think the thing is with the game, I mean, I've now played it about, I don't know, maybe half a dozen times. Every time I played it, I found something new, which is kind of interesting in itself. It does have great... if you like this kind of thing, it does have great replayability. However, I will say it is challenging. I mean, there's no quest markers, there's no holding your hand, combat's brutal. The first playthrough, I just died so many times, and to the point where I had to go and consult the interweb, and I looked up Oxhorn, and Many a True Nerd. Oxhorn definitely has very good playthrough on this particular game, and the hints and helps were exceedingly useful. So there's an aspect of you kind of, I think the learning curve is quite steep, but once you sort of, you know, if this is the kind of stuff you want to play, and this is definitely not for everybody. I mean, graphically, this is a 27-year-old game, so it's not like modern RPG type stuff. So it's probably quite niche. I mean, I think in terms of when this came out, you were talking maybe hundreds of thousands of people playing this, maybe yeah. So this whole universe has expanded dramatically, and I wouldn't recommend it as the first experience of playing Fallout. Probably much better off with Fallout 4, maybe 76, or even Vegas. Yeah, I mean, one of the possibly the not great things about it is the fact that you're on a timer to complete the first, I don't know, sort of to get the water chip, which probably will take you maybe a third of the game, maybe, I don't know. I mean, anyway, so that's something that's worth bearing in mind. However, I will say, I mean, all aspects of the actual game are kind of here. So you have your you know, your Pip-Boy, the Death Claws, there's VATs, etc., and you know, super mutants, all that kind of element. Also, there's opportunities to pick up companions, although I've never really found that particularly useful. I mean, you know, because the companion, you are limited on the number of companions you can have related to your charisma, and I've never put much as a stat. I've never used charisma as I've used the points to put in other things, I think is the best way of putting it, and I have had issues with trying to keep my various companions alive through various sub-quests, particularly doing like sort of guarding caravans, etc., going for the Crimson Caravan Company particularly. Yeah, but in terms of there's sort of aspects of, you know, I mean, I think the locations are really good. I think the locations each have a feel of their own. So and what accentuates this particularly is the soundstage. I think the soundstage is utterly brilliant. I mean, in terms of like, yeah, necropolis make it, the sound that they use for that is really unsettling. And yeah, the locations are really good as well. I mean, going through the glow and the way in which there's aspects of the story which are kind of pieced together by information that you get from various places, which again I think the world building and the story that's imbibed is really, yeah, it's quite something overall. So yeah. Yeah, it's, you know, it's highly amusing death scenes. Each of the I think the deaths are all the animations are kind of sort of individualistic, so they're quite entertaining. Yeah, I mean the enemies are good as well. I mean, the final showdown with the Master, the way in which you can there's different ways of getting through that situation. So it's sort of, yeah, I think one of the things about it which maybe separates it from sort of modern games is the fact that you really do have to speak to everybody within each of the locations, and you have to find out who the individuals are, so you have to want to explore and you want to try and work out in each location what's going on, who needs to be helped, what the side quests are, and yeah, it's sort of, yeah, it makes a change from having a handheld, I guess. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I really love it. I mean, I've played it, I don't know, about half the times. Enjoyed each playthrough. Each playthrough's been slightly different. I did play it again as Max Stone, and that was really hard because of his low intelligence. Every time you level up, you get so limited points of so limited points you can put on your skills that it's very difficult. So when you get to, because the way in which it has, I usually start these type of games, or they usually start off with ballistic weapons, and at some point you swap to energy weapons, and because he had so little points to put on anything, it made that very difficult, so I had to stick with ballistic weapons and grenades, I think it was, in the end. So yeah, it's I would say, if you want a challenging game that's actually quite fun to play, this might be for you. And it's sort of, I don't know if it's Marmite game or not. I mean, it's sort of, it's of its time. I mean, the other thing to say, I mean, I've been playing a remastered Wasteland as well concurrently with this, and this is just vastly better. It's not in terms of graphically, how the combat works, it's just so much better. I think you can kind of see the progression and the ideas, you know, sort of maybe coming across from Wasteland to this. But yeah, I mean, it's Wasteland's a really tough game as well. I think this is slightly easier. I think it's slightly more intuitive. I think the UI is slightly better. The UI is much better, but it's obviously maybe this, compared to, I don't know, Vegas, it's not great at all. But anyway, yeah, I hope you've enjoyed the journey so far through the Fallout universe, and I'm now really looking forward to the fact that I'm going to be playing Fallout 2. I played that once, crikey, 2 years ago. Thought it was fantastic. It is a very, very good game, and it sort of definitely builds on this one. It's very funny. It probably has. I think the jokes probably haven't dated that well, but we will see. Yes. So, thank you for your time. If you like this content, like, subscribe, comment, and see you in the next video. Bye!